Hello, good afternoon. This is and should be my 11 o'clock poetry reading for Sunday. However, I've had a lot of technical issues this morning, including every time I attempted to broadcast. To begin with, it wouldn't work on Facebook Live. And then eventually when I did get to make it work, apparently I was broadcasting sideways on it, which is obviously very amusing, but also relatively embarrassing. So it's been really weird this weekend, hasn't it? London is now in tier 2 as from last night, midnight. And I know that I've certainly been trying to work out what I can and can't do, as I'm sure everybody has. And yeah, it's one of those moments in this marathon, isn't it, when you've got to take another deep breath and continue to, yeah, obviously most people are a bit bored and fed up with it and miserable maybe, which I am a bit today, to be honest, but redoubling efforts to maintain a kind of dynamic stability, I guess, a continuation of coming up with ideas for projects and yeah, staying well, I guess, and grounded. So it's funny actually, about 3 or 4 months ago, I suggested to a friend of mine that it was probably time to buy a fire pit in advance of the rush that there was likely to be in October for fire pits and outdoor heaters and marquees. And I'm sure Amazon's doing a roaring trade in those things right now. But yeah, 8 months of reading poems and 8 months that we're in it. We've seen now, we're now into the 3rd season, and it looks like it might just carry on for quite a lot longer. And so adapting to this way of being is really what you have to do, and more creative projects for me, and travelling away in imagination through writing and creative dialogue with other people who like making creative work. So today's poem, with that in mind, that sort of suggested itself to me, I guess. It's quite interesting sometimes to just open a book and see what words you find there. And, you know, poetry, as I've said all along, is a great sanctuary, you know, going into mythology and touching some core human things. So today I've gone back to Joy Harjo, who is an Indigenous American and is a member of the Muskogee Nation, and is also from 2019 was made the Poet Laureate in the US. And she's a really interesting, she's also a musician, she's a saxophonist, as well as a writer and poet, and a lot of her work is about voice, women's voice particularly, about connection, tribal connection, and of course, as with many Indigenous tribes, a real connection to what the earth means, which is obviously within the kind of climate change agenda, speaks so powerfully to our societies. So I'm going to read her poem, which is called A Map to the Next World. In the last days of the 4th world, I wished to make a map for those who would climb through the hole in the sky. My only tools were the desires of humans as they emerged from the killing fields, from the bedrooms and the kitchens. For the soul is a wanderer with many hands and feet. The map must be of sand and can't be read by ordinary light. It must carry fire to the next tribal town for renewal of spirit. In the legend are instructions on the language of the land. How it was we forgot to acknowledge the gift, as if we were not in it or of it. Take note of the proliferation of supermarkets and malls, the altars of money. They best describe the detour from grace. Keep track of the errors of our forgetfulness. The fog steals our children while we sleep. Flowers of rage spring up in the depression. Monsters are born there of nuclear anger. Trees of ashes wave goodbye to goodbye, and the map appears to disappear. We no longer know the names of the birds here, how to speak to them by their personal names. Once we knew everything in this lush promise. What I'm telling you is real and is printed in a warning on the map. Our forgetfulness stalks us, walks the earth behind us, leaving a trail of paper diapers, needles and wasted blood. An imperfect map will have to do, little one. The place of entry is the sea of your mother's blood, your father's small death as he longs to know himself in another. There is no exit. The map can be interpreted through the wall of the intestine, a spiral on the road of knowledge. You will travel through the membrane of death, smell cooking from the encampment where our relatives make a feast of fresh deer meat and corn soup in the Milky Way. They have never left us. We abandoned them for science. And when you take your next breath as we enter the fifth world, there will be no X, no guidebook with words you can carry. You will have to navigate by your mother's voice, renew the song she is singing. Fresh courage glimmers from planets and lights the map printed with the blood of history. A map you will have to know by your intention, by the language of suns. When you emerge, note the tracks of the monster slayers where they entered the cities of artificial life and killed what was killing us. You will see red cliffs. They are the heart, contains the ladder. A white deer will greet you when the last human climbs from the destruction. Remember the hole of shame marking the act of abandoning our tribal grounds. We were never perfect, yet the journey we make together is perfect on this earth who was once a star and made the same mistakes as humans. We might make them again, she said. Crucial to finding the way is this: there is no beginning or end. You must make your own map. So there we are, a poem by Joy Harjo, who really does call on those myths to speak to us and kind of raise us out of the challenges, but remind us also of what our responsibilities are to each other and to the earth that we inhabit, and the need for respect for all of that. So in the midst of all of this strangeness, I hope you have a good week and that you can navigate your own restrictions and manage to maintain your close relationships, working and personal. So take care, and I'll catch up with you next Sunday, hopefully at 11 o'clock this time. Thank you for checking in.